is indeed a very warm welcome to the 5th edition of the Sanganai World Travel and Tourism Africa Fair. 2012 sees 1,200 exhibitors exhibiting here, and today, the 18th of October, sees the official opening of the Sanganai World Travel and Tourism Africa Fair. And today, we're going to be taking you through some of the events of the day.
Deputy Prime Minister Mutambara, Professor Mutambara, all members of the diplomatic corps here present, MPs, officials from our government, fellow board members from ZTA, the CEO of ZTA and his staff. It is my singular honor to be here. I'm sure we are all raring to go and see what is on around us today. As you can see, there are so many exhibitors all around the building. We've never had such attendance as well. So I'm happy to see so many of us here this afternoon, and I shall not take too much of your time because I'm sure we all want to make those deals. The heat is on, and as you can see, we are starting our evening with the glamour all around us. So I'm sure we are all happy to see all the stands, and we also want to see so many deals being clinched this afternoon, and I'm sure we are all going to enjoy one of our 7 wonders, which is the Victoria Falls. So I'm sure that all our visitors, our buyers, have seen quite a few of our areas, and I'm sure they also want to visit all the other areas like the Eastern Highlands, the South, East Lowveld, and all the other wonders that we have here in Zimbabwe. So without wasting too much of your time, I'm sure we all want to see. So I will now ask the DPM, Professor Mutambara, to come and give us what he has.
Director of Ceremonies, Sugar Chagonda, you have done a very good job on protocol, so you have made my job very easy. So all I have to say is that ministers of government who are here, Minister Shamu, Chamisa, and Zino Chikiwei, Mr. Kaseke and your team, the Zimbabwe Tourism Authority, the Zimbabwe Council of Tourism, our guests from Botswana, Zambia, and the region, and also our ambassador to China, Ambassador Shava, other senior leaders here, Ambassador Midzi and Mr. Gumbo, fellow Zimbabweans and members of the tourism ecosystem. I'm just happy to be here to launch this fair. And I want to start by explaining why I call this an ecosystem. What we want to do in this country is to have an approach that says, let us approach tourism as an ecosystem where we take cognizance of all the players, the government, the private sector, the buyers, the academy, civic society, and the media. Our strategy and our approach to tourism must be an ecosystem approach where we listen to everyone and take cognizance of the views of every sector that is involved in tourism. But more importantly, we want to see partnerships where the government partners with the private sector, where the government partners with the media and civic society to deliver and monitor tourism products. Why? Because tourism is such a product that requires partnerships. Some of the products are owned by the state, but the business is executed by the private sector. The marketing is done by international buyers. So we need an ecosystem approach that will allow us to unlock value from tourism. That's why we say, thank you, the tourism ecosystem, for a show which is bigger than we've ever had in this country. The foreign buyers, the local exhibitors, our activities this year are a Bamba harvest. I want to thank you for this. Now, as we launch this fair, we are now doing things differently in this country. And I want to emphasize 3 things we are doing differently in this country around Sanganai. The first one is to say This is no longer a Zimbabwean fair. It's no longer a Zimbabwean occasion or a Zimbabwean event. We are now positioning it as a Pan-African event, as a Pan-African fair, meaning we are saying, come to Zimbabwe and you are going to be exposed to Africa. Come to Zimbabwe, you are going to be exposed to SADC, to COMESA. So we are repositioning this fair as a Pan-African fair, so that we're going to be bigger than the South African one, because ours is Pan-African. It's bigger and better. That's what we're doing differently now. This is now a Pan-African Sanganai affair, where we cross-sell and package our products as regional products, where we work together with Botswana and Zambia and South Africa, so that the international buyer is buying a regional product, so that the international buyer is buying a Pan-African product. This is what's different. This is our new approach to this fair, to our guests from outside the country, to the international buyers. Under globalization, the only viable unit of analysis is the region. Under globalization, the only viable unit of analysis is the continent. South Africa won't make it as South Africa, they're going to make it as SADC. Zambia won't make it as Zambia, they're going to make it as COMESA, as the African continent. Numbers, scale. That's why I'm very happy to see our ambassador from China. In China, we talk about 1.3 billion people and a GDP of $7 trillion. Little Zimbabwe, what are our numbers? 12 million people and GDP, pick a number, $10 billion. Chicken change. South Africa, you think you are big, you are small. What are your numbers? South Africa, my friends, you are 50 million people and $380 billion GDP. Chicken change. You will not make it under globalization as a country. We are going to make it as SADC. We're going to make it as COMESA. We're going to make it as the African continent. What are the numbers? We're talking about 250 million people in SADC, 400 million people in COMESA, and 1 billion Africans. Surely if we're to go to China and say, Mr. China, Madam China, here I come, and I represent 1 billion Africans, and I also have a GDP of $1 trillion, surely the Chinese will listen to you, not out of love, out of economics. The same applies to the Americans. You go to America, you say, Madam America, Mr. America, here I come, I'm the African. I represent 1 billion Africans, and I have a GDP of $1 trillion. Let's talk America. The Americans will listen to you, not out of love, out of economics. So here is what we're doing differently. We want to position Sanganai as a Pan-African affair so that we can make sense under globalization. Second thing that we're doing differently this time around, we are saying that we are now broadening the definition of tourism. We're now broadening the definition of tourism products. Of course, I know you know about the traditional products, Victoria Falls, Great Zimbabwe, Inyanga, and so on. We are going beyond that and expanding the definition of tourism to include historical tourism, to include cultural tourism, to include academic tourism, to include so many other definitions of tourism. We are expanding tourism in this country, which means we are going to be packaging our history so that history becomes part of our tourism value proposition. Chinoy Battle, 1966. Do you know where it is? Why don't you go and visit and see where we had our first battle in 66 from the Zandla side of the equation? Wangi Campaign, 1967. Why don't you go to Wangi and see where Nkondo Esizwe and Zipra in 67 showed the Boers and the whites here how it is done? That is what we call historical tourism, cultural tourism, where we package our history so that we learn our history, but also we benefit economically from our history. Cultural tourism, our culture, our people. Academic tourism. Why don't you go and visit the University of Zimbabwe and see where we were shot callers, me and Chamisa, throwing stones? It's a great institution, there's history there. Go and see, go figure. Our academic institutions, Kutama, Gromonzi, St. Augustine's, lots of history. And Hatzo, of course. Why don't we go there and see the history of this country in terms of education? And by the way, beyond Zimbabwe, let us package Fort Hare. Fort Hare produced President Mandela. Fort Hare produced Sobukwe. Fort Hare produced President Mugabe. Why don't you go and see such an institution that produced these people? Surely it will be very interesting. The Americans do that with Harvard and Stanford. The British do that with Cambridge and Oxford. When you go to Oxford during the summer, you can't walk because there are so many people, Europeans, Chinese, and Africans, trying to look at Oxford and see those ugly buildings. But they've got so much history. And they produced me, I'm Ebola, from there. Go and see where I went to school. That's why on Saturday we have what we're calling township tourism, where we're going to go to Highfields and see the room where ZANU was formed in '63, Ngala's house. Surely that's interesting, to go and see where Ngala was doing the work. Go and see President Mugabe's house, Joshua Ngomo's house. And they're doing it already in South Africa. People visit Mandela's house in Soweto. We are getting wiser, we're getting cleverer, and we're going to package our history as part of tourism, and we're calling it township tourism, which is a very poor phrase anyway. It should be historical tourism, tourism of the struggle. That's what's different now. And when you come to this fair, we're going to be offering you a broader spectrum of products. The last thing we are doing different is that, look, insofar as we are concerned now, tourism is more than entertainment. Tourism is more than just a PR sector. Tourism now is about jobs. Tourism now is about our economy. For those who do study, McKinsey & Company has done a study. The McKinsey Global Institute has done a study called Getting Africa to Work Again, Getting Africa to Work, where they're saying it is important that we create jobs in Africa. Of course, it's important that we empower people, they become employers. It's important that we become entrepreneurs, but it's important that entrepreneurship, empowerment, industrialization must also create jobs. What they discovered in their study is that to do so, Africa must find sectors that are very productive in terms of jobs. When you say GDP growth, don't assume that when your GDP grows, there will be jobs. You can have what has been called jobless recovery or jobless GDP growth. What we want is GDP that is accompanied with growth. And from the McKinsey study, they found that identify sectors that are labor intensive, that create jobs, that are good job creators. And one of them from the study by McKinsey & Company is what they call tourism and services. They're saying that tourism and services is a sector that is very productive in terms of jobs. So in Zimbabwe, we've taken the message to say we are going to take tourism as one of our anchor sectors. We're going to take tourism as one of our key drivers of the economy. So to the bankers who are in the house, I heard that you told my people here that tourism is a low sector. You don't prioritize tourism. I will take your license. We will take your license. Tourism is a key driver of our economy. So go figure, go find those funds required for tourism. You know why I say this, Minister Shamu? According to McKinsey & Company, once you have identified a sector that you want to grow jobs from, you must do several things. One is to build the infrastructure required to grow those jobs. Two, you must get access to finance. Once you identify agriculture as a driver of your jobs, we need money for agriculture. And by the way, the reason why I'm animated is because our banks are not funding agriculture. That's a subject for another day, but I'm coming for you. We need to fund agriculture because agriculture is a job creator. We need to fund tourism because tourism is a job creator. This is what's new in this country. We're driving tourism as a sector that is going to give us jobs. They also say, then get the skills required for that sector, make sure that triple Ps, and make sure you implement activities. I want to emphasize that as a last element that is no longer just entertainment or nice to have. It means Minister Muzembe is in charge of an anger sector in the country. Minister Muzembe is a super minister who is going to be driving job creation in my country. And I want to see jobs created. And we want to see jobs created. So, Minister Shamu, Chamisa, and Zino Chikwe, I thought as we open this fair, we make it clear to the ecosystem here what is different, what's new under the sun. This is now a Pan-African event. Number two, the definition of tourism is being broadened. Number three, this is now an anger sector, a job creator for our country, and we're going to support it and give it what it needs. And as I conclude, I want to emphasize the issues around the image of the destination, the image of Zimbabwe, the image of Africa. I know we're coming from different countries, Zambia, Botswana, South Africa, Zimbabwe. We must work together to create a positive understanding of our countries, a positive image of our country. The media, you have a duty and obligation to create a positive image of Zimbabwe, a positive image of Africa. Why? Because your personal identity, your corporate identity, your corporate brand is a function of the national brand. You will never be respected as an African until Africa has done well as a country. Which means for some of you who say, I'm a superstar journalist, I'm a superstar business person, I'm a superstar pastor, I'm a superstar minister, you are a superstar nothing until Zimbabwe is a superstar economy. You are a superstar nothing until Africa is a superstar economy. I thank you so very much for this opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The 5th edition of Sanganai World Travel and Tourism Africa Fair is officially open.
I knew I had drawn the short straw speaking after the Deputy Prime Minister. As a graduate of Chinoi Finishing School for Men, I'm clearly outdone and outmastered. But, Honourable Deputy Prime Minister, thank you very much for your words tonight. All protocol observed. My task here this evening is very simple, and I don't want to waste your time. We've had a great day. We had a business forum this morning where we were able to interact effectively and with input from government on policy issues that affect tourism that we can take forward and make sure that we improve this sector all the way through to making it a key sector. I need to just thank the ZTA for facilitating all of this event and making it happen. It's a wonderful Sanganai. It's one of the biggest ever, and well done to Wakaseke and his team, Makorokoto. In addition, I'd like to thank the moderators this morning, none other than our Deputy Prime Minister and Dr. Shingi Munyeza, who managed to take us through all the events that we needed to and get us to the point so that we were concise and with tourism in mind. But my last thank is actually a very big thank you to the Deputy Prime Minister for giving up his time, his very valuable time, to be with us not only for the moderation but also for this grand opening. Mutambara datenda baba. To all of you, to the buyers, thank you very much for coming. I wish you a good networking Sanganai 2012.